You haven't reached for the leash yet. You haven't said a word. You haven't moved toward the door. All you've done is close your laptop, the same way you close it every other time. But your dog is already standing, already at the door, already watching you with the specific alertness that means. We're going out, and I knew before you did. Most people read that as loyalty, as excitement, as some endearing quirk of having a dog who loves walks. Here's another interpretation, one backed by decades of behavioral science and cognitive ethology. Your dog has built a predictive model of you. It catalogs your micro-behaviors. It reads your body language in real time with a precision that makes most human perception look blunt. It cross-references your current actions against thousands of stored observations. And it produces a prediction. The laptop closing was Q47 in a sequence it has mapped completely. Your dog isn't following you. It's running an analysis. And the results of that analysis, what it concludes about your patterns, your intentions, your emotional state, your reliability, shape every interaction the two of you have. That changes things. Quite a lot, actually. Stay with me. Here is the question I want you to hold. If your dog is actively, continuously building a model of your behavior, learning your routines, reading your signals, predicting your actions, what does that mean for the way we think about the relationship between dogs and humans? Because if it is true, then the dynamic isn't what most of us were taught. It's not simply that you train your dog. It's not just that your dog responds to you. It's that your dog has been studying you all along, and the training has been running in both directions. This video is going to show you the 4 data channels your dog uses to build that model, the science of how canine pattern recognition actually works, what anticipatory behavior reveals about the depth of that internal map, and most practically, how understanding this changes the way you should approach training, consistency, and the everyday signals you send without meaning to. By the end of this, the next time your dog is already at the door before you move, you'll understand exactly why. And you'll understand what to do with it. Let us start with what's actually happening in a dog's brain when it watches you. Dogs have been co-evolving with humans for somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years, depending on which research you favor. That's a remarkable span of shared history, long enough for a specific cognitive toolkit to develop. Not just general intelligence, but specialized social intelligence aimed primarily at reading and predicting human behavior. What that means practically, a dog's brain is, among other things, a human behavior pattern recognition engine. It is running constantly, passively, even when your dog appears to be sleeping or ignoring you. Every time you perform a routine, the same sequence of actions before a meal, before a walk, before you leave the house, before a bath, your dog is logging it. Not consciously, the way we write a note, but procedurally, the way a musician internalizes rhythm. The sequence becomes expected. And when the first element of the sequence appears, the whole sequence is triggered in anticipation. This is not a simple conditioned response. It is predictive modeling, the building of an internal representation of future events based on past pattern detection. That distinction matters enormously for how we understand canine cognition. The research of Julian Kaminsky, of Brian Hare, of Alexandra Horowitz, and many others in the field of cognitive ethology converges on the same finding. Dogs are specifically, unusually good at reading intentional states in humans. Not just actions, intentions. They're tracking not just what you are doing, but what you appear to be about to do and why. The walk example from the opening. That's not a dog who smells the outdoors. That's a dog who mapped your pre-walk sequence. Laptop close, long exhale, certain posture shift, hand direction, and has been preloading the response since element 1. By the time your hand reaches the leash, your dog's body was already in motion. The anticipation came before the signal. So what specifically is being analyzed? The research gives us 4 primary input channels your dog uses to build its model of you. 1. Temporal patterns. The sequence and timing of your routines. Dogs track the order of events with surprising precision, not just walk happens, But walk happens after coffee, after coat, after keys. Disrupt the sequence and the anticipation desynchronizes. They become uncertain, waiting for the next expected trigger that hasn't arrived. 2. Body language microsignals. Posture, gait, muscle tension, breathing rate, direction of gaze. Dogs are reading these continuously at a resolution humans rarely apply to each other consciously. A slight forward lean toward the door, a particular exhale, an unconscious weight shift. Each one carries information that contributes to the predictive model. Tree, emotional state signals, olfactory, auditory, and visual. Dogs detect stress hormones in perspiration, red subtle facial muscle changes, and hear micro-variations in vocal quality that precede behavioral changes. When you are anxious about something, before you've consciously acted on it, your dog likely knows. It has been integrated into the model. 4. Gaze direction and attention. Dogs follow human pointing and gaze with the same facility as human infants. And unlike most other animals, they check back. They do not just look where you are looking. They monitor where you are paying attention to understand what's relevant. Your attention itself is information about what's about to happen. These 4 channels run simultaneously and cross-reference against each other. What you get is not 4 separate readouts. It is one integrated, continuously updated model of a specific human and their probable next behavior. This is why dogs respond differently to different people in the same household. They're not running one model. They're running individual models for each person they know, each calibrated to that person's specific patterns, signals, and emotional baseline. Your dog's behavior with you is not the same as its behavior with your partner, your children, a house guest. It has built distinct internal representations of each of you, based on distinct observed histories. The clearest evidence that a dog is running a predictive model, rather than simply responding to immediate stimuli, comes from what happens when the prediction fails. If your dog were only responding to direct cues, a disrupted routine would produce nothing. No response until an actual signal arrived. But that's not what we observe. Disrupt the sequence, leave your coat in the car, make coffee in a different order, sit back down after standing and watch what happens. The dog hesitates, looks at you, sometimes follows you more closely than usual, as if recalibrating. The model encountered an anomaly and is running a correction process. This is precisely what anticipatory behavior reveals. The dog has a working model, the model made a prediction, the prediction didn't match reality, and the model is updating. Alexandra Horowitz's research on dog cognition describes this as evidence of future-oriented thinking, the ability to form an expectation about a coming event based on current evidence. Dogs do this. They do it constantly, and they do it specifically about the humans in their environment. Here is what this means for the emotional dimension of the relationship and why it matters beyond the purely cognitive. The model your dog is building isn't just a behavioral prediction machine. It's also a map of your reliability. How consistent are you? How predictable? When you say something with your body, does it match what happens next? A dog's sense of security in a relationship is built substantially on the consistency of the model, whether the person it loves behaves the same way it expects them to. Inconsistency isn't just confusing for a dog, it's unsettling. If your dog has been building a predictive model of your behavior since the day you met, then training isn't just about teaching commands. It's about the quality of the data your dog has been collecting and what conclusions that data has led to. Here's the uncomfortable corollary. Every inconsistency you've ever had has been logged. Every time you asked for a behavior and didn't follow through. Every time your tone said one thing and your body said another. Every time the routine broke in a way that made the next interaction unpredictable. That data is all in there, and it shapes what your dog expects from you. This is why some dogs have training that works in calm contexts and collapses under pressure. Not because the training was wrong, but because the owner's behavior pattern is different under pressure, and the dog has a separate model for stressed owner behavior that doesn't include the trained responses. The practical implication is significant. Training insight, consistency as data quality. Training isn't just about repetition. It is about the quality and consistency of the signal you broadcast. A dog learning sit is also learning whether this person always means what they say, whether calm and stressed versions of this person behave the same way, and whether the rules in this environment are stable. High behavioral consistency from the owner isn't a nice-to-have. It's the foundation of a model your dog can actually trust and act on reliably. I want to tell you about something one of my clients discovered by accident. Her name is Nadia. She'd had her dog for 4 years. A close, affectionate relationship, no significant behavioral issues. But she noticed something that had been unsettling her for months without being able to name it. Her dog became anxious specifically on the days Nadia was anxious. Not sometimes, reliably. Correlated enough that Nadia had started tracking it. She came to me convinced her dog was psychic. What she was actually observing was her dog's model of her working perfectly. On high-stress days, deadlines, difficult conversations, certain kinds of worry, Nadia's body changed in small ways she wasn't aware of. Tighter posture, slightly elevated heart rate, more rapid, shallower breathing, different patterns of movement through the house. None of this was conscious. None of it was visible to the people around her. But her dog had 4 years of data on Nadia's baseline. It knew exactly what Nadia's nervous system looked like when everything was fine. And it knew, with measurable precision, when that baseline had shifted. The anxiety Nadia was seeing in her dog wasn't coincidence. It was her own anxiety, reflected back at her by an animal who had spent 4 years becoming an expert in her. It was like looking in a mirror I didn't know was there, she told me. That's what the model your dog is building does eventually. It becomes precise enough to show you things about yourself you weren't tracking. Not psychic. Better empirical. Running on observation. On pattern. On years of paying close attention to someone they love. The question I opened with, what if your dog isn't just being loyal, but actually analyzing your every move? The answer, from the research and from everything we've covered today, is that both things are true simultaneously, and they are not separate. The analysis is how the loyalty works. The study is what the love looks like, in a mind built the way a dog's is built. Your dog at the door before you've moved, that's years of careful, attentive, loving observation crystallized into a prediction. It's not magic. It's devotion that expressed itself as attention, and attention that built a model, and a model that knows you well enough to know what comes next. What you do with that matters. Because if your dog has been building a model of you, then the question isn't just how well you train your dog. It is how clearly and consistently you show up as the person in that model. Whether the data you are giving it is clean. Whether the patterns you are setting are the ones you mean to set. Your dog is not just your companion. It is, in a very real sense, your most attentive observer. The most careful student of your habits and your heart that you will ever have. That relationship deserves to be understood at that level. The laptop closes. The dog is already at the door. Now you know why. One question before you go, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. What moment in this video made you think of something specific about your dog? The laptop sequence, the 4 data channels, the anxiety mirroring, the idea of separate models for different family members. Something landed for you. Tell me what it was in the comments. That's not a formula. I track those answers, and they directly shape what I research and film next. If this reframe shifted something for you, the way you think about what's happening in your dog's mind when they watch you, the next video goes deeper on one specific piece. How dogs respond when the model breaks down, what behavioral signals tell you the internal map needs updating, and what you can do about it. It's already linked here. If someone you know has a dog who seems to just know things, share this with them. They probably haven't had a word for it yet. See you in the next one. New videos every week. Real training, real results, backed by science that actually works. Scan the QR code or tap subscribe now.